Maggie's hard life was about to get worse. That morning, she stood in the dreaded glass office of her boss as he angrily tossed her designs onto the table. "This is useless. Revise them and don't ever waste my time again," he barked. The meticulous drawings had taken her 3 nights of skipped sleep and cold coffee. But nothing she ever did pleased him. To him, she was invisible. Just another underpaid architect working in his renowned architecture firm in Oklahoma City. But outside that office, she was a daughter keeping her bedridden mother alive and a sister trying to fund her brother Ryan's college tuition, all on a paycheck that barely covered food, medicine, and rent. Her father had passed away years ago. At work, her colleagues laughed behind her back and took credit for her designs. At home, the constant beeping of her mother's medical equipment was a cruel reminder that time was running out for everything. One evening, Ryan burst into her room, his eyes red. "Mags, I can't go to college anymore. They're demanding fees again, and I can't keep asking you for money." Maggie's heart sank.
Ryan, just give me 1 more week. I'll figure something out.
But she didn't know how. Her salary had been delayed again because her boss blamed budget issues. The next day, she stayed back late in the office finishing her team's project, hoping for some appreciation from her boss. But there was none. He simply said coldly, "Next time, focus on getting things done quickly, not on perfection. You're not paid to dream." That broke her. She cried in the empty office washroom. The mirror showed a woman who looked decades older than her age. The dark circles, the cracked lips, the hopeless eyes. She eventually had to borrow some money from a colleague to pay her brother's tuition fees. However, little did she know that her problems were about to become bigger. A week later, her mother's condition worsened. Maggie took a loan to pay for her mother's treatment and skipped her own meals to make sure her brother ate properly. But then, Ryan came home one day with a letter. "Mags, I got a scholarship from the university. I'm moving to Tulsa in 2 weeks." Maggie forced a smile and congratulated Ryan. And then, life delivered the blow she wasn't ready for. One night, while returning home from work, Maggie's phone rang. It was the hospital. Her mother had suffered a cardiac arrest while undergoing treatment. By the time she reached the hospital, it was over. Her mother's hand was still warm when Maggie held it one last time. After her mother's funeral, Maggie sat in the empty house surrounded by unpaid bills, her mother's medicines, and her own drawings scattered across the table. The silence was unbearable. For the first time in her life, she considered quitting everything. But then she found something under her mother's pillow, a small note written in shaky handwriting.
Maggie, don't stop designing your life while you're busy fixing others. Live like I always wanted you to.
She folded the note and kept it close to her heart. That single line became the fuel that kept her going. A few months passed. She was still at the same job, doing the same tasks, but her attitude changed. She started sketching her own designs at night, applying for freelance projects online, trying to build something of her own. Ryan would often call from Tulsa, telling her how proud he was of her. "You're stronger than you think, Mags," he'd say. Just when things began to look a little better, her boss called her into his cabin. "Maggie, the company's downsizing. We'll have to let some people go." She stared at him, hoping it was a bad dream, but it wasn't. She lost her job that very day. For a week, she did nothing but stare at the ceiling. Her savings were nearly gone. She couldn't tell Ryan. He had his own exams. But one evening, while cleaning her table, she found her old college sketchbook. Inside it was dozens of designs she had drawn during her early days. Bright, hopeful, and full of imagination. Something within her reignited. If no one was going to give her a chance, she would create one. She borrowed a little money from her cousin and started a small design studio from her apartment. Just one desk, one old laptop, and a dream that refused to fade. For the first few weeks, no one called, but she kept posting her work online. One day, an NGO reached out asking her to design low-cost, modular, eco-friendly homes for rural families who had lost theirs to floods. Maggie poured every ounce of her pain and patience into that project. She worked nights, skipped sleep, and turned her heartbreak into architecture. Months later, when the homes were built, the pictures went viral online. Within weeks, she was flooded with new projects and offers. Slowly, her small studio grew into a full-fledged firm. One morning, her phone rang. The same boss who had once humiliated her was on the line. "Maggie, I saw your work online. Perhaps we could collaborate." She paused, smiled, and said,
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have time right now.
but that wasn't the real victory. The real one came when she visited her brother in Tulsa. Ryan had just graduated and received a job offer from a renowned company in the city. As they sat on a park bench, he handed her an envelope. Inside was a small property document. It's your new studio in Tulsa, very close to the apartment I am currently staying in. You can stay with me for a while till you fully relocate. Consider this our new beginning, he said. Maggie frowned.
Ryan, how did you manage this?
He smiled. You remember that scholarship money? I saved what I could, and the company that offered me a job bought one of my college projects. Mags, you carried me when I was dependent on you. It's time I helped you build something of your own. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at him and said,
You're just like Mom, always giving.
He shook his head gently. No, Mags, you taught me that. You showed me what strength really looks like. Maggie looked up at the evening sky and whispered,
Maybe all along, the world wasn't against me. Maybe it was shaping me.
It was at that moment that she realized that life had made her stronger instead of breaking her. And that is the lesson of this story. Your problems are not your punishment. They are your preparation. When everything falls apart, it's not the end of your story. It's just life rebuilding you from the inside out. Everyone faces storms, but only those who rise through them discover who they truly are. So, when circumstances try to break you, remember, you are greater than your problems. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Story Wisdom Decoded. And if you have any comments, I am all ears. Thanks for watching.